Before we start, a quick word. We put everything into these videos. Hours of research, source verification, every detail checked, but the algorithm buries channels like ours unless you help. A like, a comment, even just writing your province. It tells the system this matters. It takes 2 seconds, and it changes everything for us. We appreciate every single one of you. Now, Donald Trump just threatened to block the opening of a $5.7 billion bridge that Canada already built, already paid for, and already connected to the highway system on both sides of the border. The Gordie Howe International Bridge between Detroit and Windsor is physically complete. Testing is underway. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security already designated it an official port of entry. And Trump says he will not allow it to open. Everyone reported the threat. Nobody followed the money. A billionaire donor, $600,000 in Trump campaign contributions, a competing bridge losing traffic, a lobbying firm run by Trump's chief of staff's former colleagues, a meeting with the Commerce Secretary hours before the threat, and a congressional corruption investigation. Trump's stated reason was trade grievances with Canada, but the real story is simpler and uglier. The Maroon family owns the Ambassador Bridge, the only commercial truck crossing between Detroit and Windsor. The Gordie Howe Bridge ends their monopoly. They spent $33 million trying to kill this project. They failed at the ballot box, they failed in court, so they went straight to the White House. This is happening right now. The bridge is built. Canada paid $4.7 billion. Michigan and Canada share ownership, and Trump wants to renegotiate a deal his own first administration endorsed. Today, we are showing you how a billionaire used campaign donations to turn the President of the United States into a tool for protecting a private toll monopoly, and why Canada is not backing down. If this story makes your blood boil, hit that subscribe button. Is Trump protecting America or protecting a billionaire's toll revenue? Let us start with what the Maroon family actually did. The Ambassador Bridge has connected Detroit and Windsor since 1929. For decades, it was the only commercial truck crossing in the area, handling hundreds of millions of dollars in trade every day. The Maroon family has controlled it for generations, collecting tolls on every vehicle. It is a private monopoly on the busiest international trade corridor in North America. When Canada and Michigan agreed in 2012 to build a competing public bridge, the Marowns went to war. They spent over $33 million on a ballot proposal to change Michigan's constitution and block the project. Voters rejected it 59 to 41%. They filed multiple lawsuits. They launched trade disputes. Every attempt failed. Construction began in 2018, and the Gordie Howe Bridge is now physically complete. Then came Trump's second term and the trade war with Canada. The Marowns saw an opening. Lobbying records show the Detroit International Bridge Company re-engaged Ballard Partners, a top Washington lobbying firm with deep ties to the Trump administration. Trump's own chief of staff formerly led the firm's Washington office. The company spent at least $250,000 lobbying in the second half of last year alone. Over the full first Trump administration, they paid Ballard at least $2.5 million. They now have 6 lobbyists working on their behalf, the most since 2005. Matthew Maroon, the family's current chairman, has personally donated over $600,000 to Trump's campaigns and the Republican Party since 2019. That includes $250,000 to the Republican National Committee in 2025 alone. The timeline is damning. On February 9th, Maroon met with Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick in Washington. Lutnick then spoke with Trump by phone. Hours later, Trump posted his threat to block the bridge. The New York Times confirmed the sequence. Democrats on the House Oversight Committee have now demanded all communications between Maroon and the administration by March 4th. Here is where it gets fascinating. The logic chain reveals exactly how private money became foreign policy. Step 1. The Gordie Howe Bridge nears completion, directly threatening Maroon toll revenue. Ambassador Bridge truck traffic has already dropped near historic lows. Step 2. The Maroon family reactivates its most powerful lobbying connections, spending millions through a firm tied directly to Trump's inner circle. Step 3. Maroon meets face-to-face with the Commerce Secretary. Step 4. Within hours, Trump posts a public threat to block a bridge that his own first administration called a vital economic link between two countries. Step 5. This threat becomes leverage in the broader trade war, disguising a private business interest as a national trade grievance. The corruption is locked into the timeline. The financial mechanics are equally revealing. Canada financed the entire $4.7 billion project. The 2012 agreement gives Michigan and Canada 50-50 ownership. Canada recoups its investment through toll revenue. Trump now wants to renegotiate that deal so the United States gets a cut of the tolls, effectively demanding payment for a bridge American taxpayers never paid a dollar to build. On Canada's side, the bridge is already designated a U.S. port of entry. Homeland Security published the rule. Customs officers have been assigned. Highway connections are complete on both sides. Michigan Governor Whitmer says the bridge will open. Windsor Mayor Dilkin says Trump cannot physically stop a completed bridge from operating. Meanwhile, Trump faces pushback from his own party's history. Republican former Governor Rick Snyder negotiated the original deal and has publicly warned that blocking the bridge creates one big winner: the Brown family, while punishing Michigan workers and businesses. Critics argue Trump is simply negotiating for a better deal, but the data tells a different story. A University of Windsor study found the Gordie Howe Bridge would save truckers an estimated $2.3 billion over 30 years in reduced crossing times alone. Blocking it costs American manufacturers more, not less. Tell us in the comments. Is this about trade, or is this about protecting a billionaire donor? The consequences of Trump's threat extend far beyond one bridge. Start with the trade numbers. The Detroit-Windsor corridor is the busiest international commercial crossing in North America. Roughly a quarter of all Canada-US trade passes through this area. Auto parts cross the border multiple times during manufacturing. A single day of disruption costs hundreds of millions of dollars. The Ambassador Bridge is approaching a century old and cannot handle modern truck volumes efficiently. Blocking the Gordie Howe Bridge does not protect American interests. It creates a bottleneck that raises costs for every American manufacturer that depends on cross-border supply chains. The human cost falls on Michigan workers first. The auto industry needs both crossings to function. Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis all depend on parts flowing between Ontario and Michigan. Higher crossing costs mean higher car prices. Higher car prices mean fewer sales. Fewer sales mean layoffs. Michigan Democrats and business groups have warned that blocking the bridge would damage the state economy and cost thousands of jobs. The cascading impact runs through the entire political landscape. Michigan is a swing state Trump won in both 2016 and 2024. Democratic Senator Alyssa Slotkin says Trump is punishing Michiganders for a trade war he started. And Democrats have introduced legislation to prohibit the president from blocking the bridge without congressional approval. House Oversight Democrats have demanded Brown turn over all communications by March 4th. If he refuses, they will push for a subpoena. Canada's position is simple and powerful. The bridge is built. The money is spent. The ownership agreement is signed. The port of entry is designated. Mark Carney has spoken directly with Trump to clarify that Canada paid for construction. Ownership is shared with Michigan, and both American and Canadian workers built it. Windsor's mayor says the bridge opens with or without Trump's blessing, and that reality is permanent. The concrete does not care about tweets. The endgame is clear. The bridge opens. It has to. Trump cannot physically prevent a completed bridge from operating. Michigan co-owns it. Homeland Security has designated it a port of entry. Customs officers are assigned. The highway connections are built. Every day the bridge stays closed costs American businesses money. Every day it stays closed benefits exactly one family, the Maroons, while hurting the Michigan voters who put Trump in office. The corruption investigation does not go away either. Democrats have set a March 4th deadline for Brown's communications. The timeline, donation, lobbying, meeting, phone call, presidential threat is documented in lobbying records, campaign finance filings, and reporting from the New York Times and CBC. Even if Republicans block a subpoena, the public record is already established. The consequences cascade beyond the bridge itself. This episode exposes how Trump's trade war with Canada has become a vehicle for private interests. A billionaire who spent $33 million failing to kill this bridge through democratic means simply bought access to the president instead. The auto industry, the trucking industry, and Michigan's economy are collateral damage. Canada's future on this issue is already secure. The bridge is built with Canadian money. The toll revenue flows to Canada to recoup the investment. The crossing creates redundancy that protects both nations from future disruptions. and no presidential social media post can unbuild $4.7 billion of concrete and steel. And that infrastructure is permanent. It does not expire with any administration. It does not depend on any donor's influence. It does not care about any trade war. The Gordie Howe Bridge is the physical proof that Canada builds while others threaten. Those who follow this channel know what real power looks like. Share this with anyone who thinks Trump is fighting for the American people on this one. Subscribe so you never miss a politics investigation. Is Trump protecting American workers, or is he running errands for a billionaire?